thank you everybody for coming out, and thank you to all of my colleagues and to our State's Attorney General for being here. We are here today to introduce a bipartisan package that we've been working on for a long time behind the scenes to work on cash bond reform in Michigan. This is a movement that's been a long time coming. It's needed, and so I'm excited to say that we have had, because of the work we've put in, we've got really broad support in this process, where there are going to be a lot of stakeholders who we've worked with who are going to be supporting us as this package moves forward. And we are here because all of us, and I hope everyone in this state, wants us to have a one-track justice system in Michigan. We want a justice system that works for everyone and not simply for people who have more money than other people. And our cash bond system, the way it works now, doesn't always accomplish that goal. We don't always treat people the same regardless of their income level. So our package is a reflection of our sustained attempt to bring forth legislation that's going to focus on safety, that's going to focus on saving the taxpayers' money, but that's not going to give us a divided justice system in Michigan. So we have with us some employers here today. We have a number of legislators, and they're going to be speaking on this issue, but I want to emphasize again that the intention of our bill package is to not have people in jail who are not a risk to our community, where when they're in jail, they are losing their jobs, they're losing their housing, they're being separated from their families. We want to keep Michigan families together, we want to keep Michigan workers working, and we want to keep Michigan employers with the workforce they need. And that's what our cash bond package is all about. So I'm excited to be here with all of my colleagues who are co-sponsors. This is a 10-bill package that's been introduced in the House and will be introduced in the Senate. And everyone up here, I think, is excited to talk about this. I'm going to hand over now to our State's Attorney General. Attorney General Nessel and I think I can say this safely, we both saw this in the trenches. I was an assistant prosecutor, and the Attorney General worked in the trenches on this issue too. So we both have seen firsthand how much need there is for reform for our cash bond system. So I'm going to hand it over.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Representative LaGrand. It is such a privilege and an honor to be here with this bipartisan coalition of legislators who all recognize what an incredibly important issue this is. And as Representative LaGrand indicated, you know, I worked as a prosecutor for many years, but I also worked for many years as a criminal defense attorney. I know you wouldn't have known that from the $7 million worth of negative ads against me during the campaign, but it's true. But you know, I learned a lot during the course of that process, and I can't tell you how many times I saw massive injustice as a result of the cash bond system. And I had so many clients who were accused of really some pretty minor offenses that they were certainly going to be getting probation for because their guidelines were 0 to 3 months or 0 to 6 months. And yet, you know, they might be given a $500 bond or so, but that was too much for people who were too poor to be able to pay it. And as a result, you had people who were needlessly sitting in jail, and in the meantime, you know, they would lose their jobs. Sometimes they would have their children taken away from by CPS because they couldn't care for their kids. And we really weren't making the community any safer, and we really were not reducing the rates of what we would call a capias, or a failure to appear, you know? And in addition to that, you know, you would cause some psychological damage to these folks sometimes. Just 2 or 3 days in jail could really cause that. And we saw a nexus between a person being in custody at the time of their sentence and how long of a sentence they would actually serve. So there were a lot of issues associated with it. And in addition, the counties were paying millions and millions of dollars to keep people in jail pre-disposition of their case, and really not making the communities any safer in the long term. And so to me, this bipartisan package of bills really is a win-win. It's a win for humanitarian issues, but it's a win for fiscal responsibility in our state as well. And I just see this as such an important step forward. And I'm just so delighted that this is happening and that so much in the way of criminal justice reform is happening. All of a sudden, right now, I attribute that to just me being in the Office of Attorney General. No, I'm kidding. It's because we have some great legislators who recognize how important this is and who have decided to put partisanship aside and to work together for the benefit of everyone in this state. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to participate in this, and I'm grateful to all of you who are standing up here. And I look forward to more commentary on these bills. I know that my office intends to be very active in terms of any recommendations if there needs to be some tweaks here and there. But I'm very hopeful that these bills will pass, they will become law, and we will have a more just society for everyone here in the state of Michigan. So thank you very much.
So I'm glad that I didn't say all of that so that the Attorney General got to say it. But just so everyone remembers, I mean, we're talking here about the potential to save huge amounts of money for cities and counties who are currently incarcerated, people who are getting sort of clogged up in the system over a few $100s. Well, who pays for that? Taxpayers pay for it. We pay for it in all kinds of ways. We pay for it by incarcerating these people, but we also pay for it when they lose their jobs, when they don't show up for work. And employers pay for it. And so the next person I'd like to have spend a few words with us here is Representative Tommy Brann. Tommy and I both own restaurants in our other lives, and Tommy's had Representative Brann has had firsthand experience dealing with the real-world effects from an employer's perspective of having people not show up at work because they couldn't make a modest bond.
Thank you, Representative LaGrand. I'm Attorney General. Nice to have you here. I do own a restaurant. I'm a state rep, but I'm a restaurant owner also. And my bill gives the judge discretion. Right now, he's got charge the defendant 25% of what he owes or she owes. And my bill gives the judge discretion of what to charge him. I've had a cook taken off the line, and I need that cook, and that cook needs me because he needs that 40 hours a week. And he's taken off the line, he's in jail, he's in arrears for child support. I believe everybody should support their children, and my cook does too, but he can't do it when he's in jail. It's just a vicious circle for the person that's going through this. And my cook wants to work. And even when he's in jail, he's getting charged for jail fees. I think it's around $33 a day. So he just gets buried more when he really wants to be at work supporting his kids and working at a job. So I'm proud to be part of this package and proud to be associated with this package. Thank you. And next is Nate.
So I want to thank David and Tommy for bringing in another constituent to tell this story too. I'm here to tell Boom's story of employment this winter too. We had the exact same scenario that he's talking about with cooks and with laborers that are eager to work and have that opportunity interrupted. So Boom was working for a snowplow service during the winter. It didn't snow in January in Michigan. It waited later, but in January it's quiet. He's doing work to pay a child support responsibility. Comes to work with us as a day laborer for 1 week, and then his phone doesn't work the next week, and we wonder where he went. And we get a call from Kent County's facilities saying, "Hey Nate, can you help me out? I need to find money." So it's a really hard spot as an employer to be in, where you've got 40 hours in with someone, and then you have to find a way to find them $500. And I don't think anybody really quantifies the challenge that is. The luxury of being able to find someone with a phone on short notice that will give you $500 that doesn't know where it needs to go. That hurdle is unnecessary in this process. It's unnecessary in employment. And it's unnecessary for the sake of supporting the kids that the child support penalty is there for. So we're eager to see Boom be able to get back out, get the corrections made, get work happening, and remove this barrier. And it's a luxury for us to be able to know representatives like Tommy and David that will speak up for constituents like this, where we say, we're eager to not see a construction labor shortage, we can solve that by getting people that want to work out. So we're eager for all this gift to the state of Michigan. Thanks.
Senator Irwin, you want to come on and take the mic?
Thank you, LaGrand, and thank you, Representative LaGrand, for your leadership and all of my colleagues here for supporting this important package. Right now, in the state of Michigan, there are people who are facing a grave injustice. There are people right now who are sitting in jail because when they came before the court for a very, very minor accusation like retail fraud or something, they were presented by the court with a terrible choice. The choice that they were offered was pay or stay. And for too many people here in Michigan who can't pay, they get to stay. And that is when you have the horrible results like the story we just heard from this gentleman, like the examples we've heard from Representative Brann and from Representative LaGrand. These are incidents that ruin people's lives, that set people back, that set families back, that mess with employers, and we're all paying for it. So I'm just really happy to be here, excited to be here with my colleagues to stand for an end to this injustice. We're all Americans, and I think it shocks the conscience of both liberals and conservatives and moderates when we have a justice system that is rationed by the thickness of your wallet. When we have a system that says that if you're wealthy, you get to go home and you can deal with this matter after you hire a lawyer. But if you're not wealthy, if you're poor, you're going to have to go to jail and you're going to have to spend a night or two in jail, which is traumatic, it's disruptive, and it can really, really set a person or a family back. So happy to be supportive of these bills. I'm hopeful that we're going to see them rush through the House and the Senate, have all the necessary changes, as was mentioned by all the stakeholders, and that we can get this done. Because right now, there are judges here in the state of Michigan that are implementing best practices. There are some communities where if you get a lucky draw and you get a good judge, they're going to employ these types of best practices that reject cash bond and go to a system based on, are these people really a risk to the community? Are they a risk for flight? But in other communities, you might get unlucky, and you might get a judge that is stuck in the past and is still using a very rigid cash bond system. So by codifying judicial best practices into the law, we're going to be doing a positive thing for the accused here in the state, a positive thing for our criminal justice system, and I'm really hopeful for progress on these bills. Thank you.
So thanks everyone for coming. The last thing I want to be explicit about is I'm really proud not only to have all of the help from the folks we've had up here, but the Prosecutors Association has officially come out and supported this package and did so some time ago. Judges associations have been engaged on this right from the start and have been supportive. And probably a lot of people in this room know that on a lot of things, the ACLU sort of defines one end of the political spectrum and the Mackinac Center defines the other end of the spectrum. Both of those organizations are supportive of this package, and I see Corinne Riley not making it into the room. But early on, the Mackinac Center did some very good discussion around this issue, and so has the ACLU. So it's been community organizations that have helped bring this, just drive this discussion forward. I also think it's worth pointing out to those of you who don't know it, if we make this happen, we are going to be a national leader in this conversation. New Jersey's done work on this issue, California's done work on this issue, but prior to those two states moving, 49 out of 50 states relied on a cash bond system that was essentially the same as Michigan's system now. And so we need to be leaders in a national conversation about risk and flight risk being the determinants for who stays in jail and not wealth. And that's a conversation that's going to happen in states around the Midwest and all over the country, and they're happening. But our ability to come out early on this, I hope, can make Michigan an example.